I had no idea how meditating for 365 days straight would impact my running. I didn't even have to do it for hours either. My average time was only 9 minutes a day, but it changed so much for me. Today, I will share with you how this streak totally changed my running and how it can change yours too. I'll be honest, I am not really a big streak person. I don't like having these restrictions on me that tell me I have to do something every single day. And frankly, I never really understood these people who would do a running streak and they would run for like 1 mile every day for however many days. It's just too much pressure. So I would not normally do this, but I do meditate fairly regularly. And when I started meditating last month, my Insight Timer app all of a sudden started telling me how many days straight I was going. So now all of a sudden, I got a little obsessed to make it for a full year. So let me share with you what this has done for me. Before I get into it, let me tell you how much it's helped me deal with my current injury. If you've been following my current videos, you know that I'm injured right now. And this is my third time in 20 years that I've been injured to the point of having to take a break from running. And I keep surprising myself with how well I've been handling it. Don't get me wrong, I do have days that drive me bonkers, but I know how to deal with it so much better now. And so let me just get into it. The first change I want to talk about is how I keep becoming more aware of my body and being in my body. I actually started meditating after learning chi walking and chi running. And one of the principles is body sensing, which really requires your mind and your body to work together. So it makes for a very mindful practice. Your body talks to your mind, and your mind responds with something from your toolbox. For example, maybe you start feeling like you're out of breath. This is your body talking to your mind, and you realize that maybe your posture is slouched. So now your mind tells your body to lift through the crown of your head so that you can get 30% more lung capacity. So when I realized that this principle of mindful movement came in part from meditating, I knew I had to learn to start doing it. Another example of this is this current injury. This might not be the best example, but still an example. In November of last year is when I started feeling my heel talking to me. Some days I wouldn't feel it at all. Some days it was loud and clear. And this example, again, does not have a happy ending because I didn't listen to my body and I just kept pushing through. So this is an example of what not to do. But the important lesson here is that I was aware of what was happening, but I, or my ego, was just choosing to ignore it. So here I am injured now. Lesson learned, do as I say, not as I do. And speaking of technique and meditating, I have 4 walking and running meditations that will walk you through some technique focuses that you can download for free. And I'm just going to leave those down in the description for you. The next big change is being able to silence my inner critic much quicker than usual. Instead of immediately believing those thoughts that would creep in, the ones that are like, why are you so slow today? Or why are you walking so much? I actually started noticing the thoughts first, almost like an out of body experience. Like I was witnessing these thoughts from outside myself. But instead of identifying and believing them right away, now I can pause and remind myself that these are just thoughts passing through. I'm able to respond much better to negative thoughts instead of quickly reacting to them. Plus, working with negative thoughts really takes up a lot of energy in your brain. And so if you can keep these thoughts at bay, it's just going to make your run more relaxed and more enjoyable. Which leads me to the next change. The third change is the ability to handle discomfort quicker and easier. It's a little bit like the last one, but it goes a bit deeper. I'll be honest, I am not uncomfortable a lot when I run because I just choose not to be. However, when you go long distances, it's inevitable that after 5 hours into a run, knowing that you still might have another 5 more hours to go can make things a little uncomfortable. And it's easy to start focusing on the negative. The hills are harder. The time is going by slower. Your mind is messing with you more. But as soon as I recognize this happening, I can step outside myself. And this is the point where I usually say to myself, whose idea was this anyway? And I will literally chuckle in the middle of my run and say, duh, I wanted to be out here. I wanted to be out in nature for 10 hours on this trail. This was my choice, and I might as well enjoy it and embrace it. I've got nobody else to blame but myself. Then I start thinking of all the reasons I wanted to be out there, and before you know it, my mind is in a different place. Next is that I made it easier for me to be more consistent with my walking and running practice. For example, when my mind starts trying to talk me out of heading out the door, it starts telling me I don't have time to get out today and that there is so much that needs to get done. Again, realize what's happening. I step outside myself and I say, the world can wait. This is your time, and you know that when you get back, you're going to feel so good for getting out there. Who cares if you decide to walk instead of run? You're still getting out there. Some is better than none, one of my favorite mantras. Seriously, though, these are things that I say to myself in my head, and I'm usually never wrong. I've never regretted going out on a walk or run when I didn't feel like it. And as a matter of fact, that's probably when I really need it the most. I also make it a point to feel how good I feel when I'm done. I will say to myself again, wow, I feel so good. I'll really focus on that feeling, that runner's high that you get when you're done. And I tell myself, remember how this feels next time you want to try and talk yourself out of it. And then I bring this back into my conversation with myself. Do you want to know what surprised me the most about all of this? It's not so much how my running changed, but how my relationship with running changed. I realized how much more I was enjoying getting out the door. When I'm able to notice when my body is not moving more efficiently and I can make a change in my form to make it easier, or when my mind is talking me down the rabbit hole and I can reframe a thought easier, well, that just makes those sessions out there way more enjoyable. And there is something to be said about being in the present moment and taking it all in. There's something to be said about being in your body and feeling what is happening. And one of my favorite ways that you can do this out on a walk or run is the five senses, your five senses. And as a matter of fact, I have a video that I did a while ago about this, and I'm going to leave that in the description as well. So what does this all boil down to, and how can you make this happen? Well, it boils down to self-awareness. I always say, excuse my French, that self-awareness is a bitch, because now you're actually witnessing your thoughts and emotions instead of being them. You're the observer, and now you can respond to those thoughts and emotions instead of just reacting to them, which usually means going down the rabbit hole even further. So while physical training is important for running, it is true that running is also very mental. When you meditate, you're able to slow down those thoughts enough so that you can learn how to be more self-aware. This is the biggest impact for meditating. Then we use the principles of neuroplasticity. The more you keep practicing being mindful and working on your mindset, the better you keep getting at it. Don't get me wrong, I still have to keep practicing because practice makes progress. Not perfect, not trying to be perfect. This weekend was one of my all-time favorite 50Ks. It would have been my 8th time doing the Crown King 50K. It's a tough one, and I use a lot of these skills during this one. Was I really bummed out when I had to cancel due to this injury? Yep, I was. But I know for a fact that I didn't wallow in my misery near as long as I might have a few years ago when I wasn't meditating as consistently. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, but I am not someone who meditates, I get it. You don't have to sit for 20 minutes in silence. I use the Insight Timer app, which I highly recommend, but there's a lot of other ones out there. There's the Calm app, and actually some of your health insurances might even cover these. Some of them are free, and then they have a paid version. I know a lot of companies do that. And you can find meditations on YouTube too. And like I said earlier, I've got a few down that you can download, and they're actually for when you're moving. And I'll link those in the descriptions. Then you can actually meditate and walk or run at the same time. So do you meditate? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments and share with me. And of course, this has a huge impact, not on just my running, but on my entire life. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you meditate. Put them down in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next video.